If you are a new Amsterdam fan, you would be fully aware that there is always something emotional brewing right around the corner. This video has it all. What moment can top George's death in the list of most dramatic moments? Which season took the trophy of sentimentality home? Stay tuned for New Amsterdam's most dramatic moments because it is worth the ride. First up, remember the time when Max found out who has his sister's heart? Anyone else has a speck of dust in their eye? When you find yourself wishing repeatedly that you could reach through the screen throughout an episode, you know a show has your attention. Although the temptation was present, we can't say that we would have recreated the heartbreaking Simba and Mufasa sequence from The Lion King. Come on, Max, get up! If you thought watching New Amsterdam Season 1 Episode 9 would stop you from crying or anything, you were probably sitting there being incorrect and sniffling at the same time. Like they sat in their writing space, which must include tissues and perhaps a therapy dog, and thought to themselves, how can we abandon damn fanatics to drown in their emotions over the Christmas season? Oh, I see. Let's have Max engage in combat to defend the person who has his sister's affection. The favorite moment in the episode was Max's scene with Sarah, where she tells him she remembers him and teaches him how to skip stones. Given that he doesn't even recall meeting her, it makes natural that she would tell him the specifics. Sarah is given a new heart, but not before Max is given the opportunity to hear his sister's heartbeat for the last time. But the fans would know meeting with Sarah was not the only dramatic moment in this episode. Also, did Max collapsing had you believed he is going to die? The most astounding parts of the hour had to be when Helen was talking Georgia through a track in the middle of nowhere while using a pocket knife and a straw. Georgia performed admirably for a scared pregnant woman despite needing some time to shout for assistance, gather the tools she required to do the procedure, and understandably stress out a bit. But when Georgia realized Max could have hypoxia, her countenance was the picture of anguish. When the clock is ticking down to the last second, it's only natural to review your actions and consider how you could have been able to shorten the time. If it had, would it have mattered? Georgia was relaying all of that, as well as the fact that it's normal to feel bad or blame oneself in certain circumstances, especially since Lauren was elaborating on the distinction between 6 minutes and 7 in addition to everything else. Max nearly dying was heart-hurting, but what's more dramatic than a favorite character dying? Don't go anywhere because you don't want to miss the coming moments. But really, did we ever cope with George's death? We don't think we can ever forgive the writers for putting us through that Season 1 finale cliffhanger and then revealing the most shocking thing ever. Fans of New Amsterdam were left in a state of shock at the first season's conclusion due to a surprise they did not anticipate. People were concerned about the fate of their favorite show characters after the first season's devastating ambulance accident. A significant red herring in the Season 2 opener did give viewers optimism that perhaps all three of the ladies survived after all when it came to learning which of the women had passed away. But unfortunately, they took Georgia away in the most heart-wrenching way. When the episode began, it appeared like New Amsterdam ruled out Max's wife as the victim right away. The couple was shown in bed together at the beginning of Your Turn, but they were abruptly awakened by Luna's cries, who was just 3 months old. Georgia informed Max that it was his time to comfort their weeping kid because she didn't appear to have fully recovered. The conclusion of the show confirmed the tragic truth. Georgia had died and Max was hallucinating their conversations at the beginning of the episode. Fans who recognized at the time that Georgia had only engaged with Max in the episode presumably started to connect the connections. Tragically, she had already flatlined by the time he entered the operating room, making it impossible for him to say goodbye or even see her alive one more time. Now, the decontamination shower. Dramatic or just outright scary? You have to admit, this scene was one of the most heart-throbbing scenes of all. We weren't sure if Max was gonna make it this time, for real, but even more so, this seemed like a super amazing turning point in Helen and Max's intimate relationship. Got us all excited and bumped. Let's jog your memory a little as to what transpired. Max disclosed a concerning fact to Helen Sharp when she saw him grasping the leaking pipe in an effort to contain the chemical spread. He was blind. Max was pushed into the decontamination shower by a horrified Helen, who feverishly washed off his body and cradled him after he passed out with his ring hand gripping her back. Max's situation first seemed terribly hopeless because there was no way to stop the poisoning, but Floyd came to the rescue with a novel technique. Helen was seated by Max's bedside when he awakened, holding her Tasbih prayer beads, but Max had no recollection of what had happened in the shower. Max instantly began to recollect as Helen turned her back on the momentous occasion. He said, "You were there, weren't you? I apologize. It sometimes takes me a moment to realize what matters most of all, you." And we all swooned. Took our souls right out of the body. After the decontamination scene, did Helen losing her speech was terrifying much? We learned at the conclusion of Season 4, Episode 18, that Helen had a severe stroke while undergoing emergency surgery. She couldn't talk when she awoke. Although she was aware of what she wanted to say, she was unable to get the words out in her voice. Of course, the episode's conclusion drove us down a rabbit hole of melancholy unlike any other, since the authors can't simply let us have beautiful things. Finally, Helen was able to glimpse the ring. The entire relationship she had with Max had culminated in this. She was then shocked to learn that she was unable to talk following her surgery. It was terrifying to realize that her voice had vanished. We felt for her in more ways than we can fully express right now. Even though this was a thrilling twist, the producers granted Helen's voice quicker than they should have. It suggested pace issues, but little did we know that the writers had worse things planned for us down the lane. Now, does Riker's inmate keeping his promise make the cut for the most dramatic moment? New Amsterdam has always emphasized Max's absurd selfless heroics and refuses to make him pay for his desire to save everyone at any costs. However, in this episode, he was forced to make a choice, and it wasn't the one he wanted. At the interim, events in the hospital required a number of leaps of faith, split-second decisions, and taking risks that had no simple alternatives. Burl, a Rikers Island prisoner who was promptly elevated to the position of on-site handyman after the local electrician was electrocuted, was one of those hazards. Max and Iggy's trust in him appeared to be misplaced at times, but in typical New Amsterdam style, he delivered in the end. For a moment, while watching the episode, we were ambiguous as to whether he would pull through his promise or not. The entire scene had us on the edge of our seats. The writers deliberately wrote it this way. You will continue to worry whether the prisoner can be trusted because of his perpetually suspicious demeanor, which will make you think about some of Max's decisions. And as a result of this, Max and Helen are forced to have a challenging conversation regarding who lives and who dies. New Amsterdam has so many amazing tear-jerking moments, it is impossible to list them down. But what else? Lastly, did the writers really have to leave us with a cliffhanger for Season 4 finale? Totally unforgiving. We had to see the happy end to Max and Helen's relationship. We deserve this much. In the finale, when the storm that slammed New Amsterdam wasn't the first to affect the hospital, the repercussions might very well linger right up to the conclusion of the show. Both physical and mental devastation were left behind by the hurricane after it passed, and it may be the emotional damage that has fans itching to hear what will happen next during the break. The episode began with Max and Helen confirming their plans to wed in a garden in New York after her flight arrived, but it concluded with Max discovering that not only was Helen not on the airplane that arrived from London, but she also told him over the phone that she's sorry and she can't. The wedding is postponed, at least temporarily. It's not yet apparent why she remained in London, or if there was a reason other than having cold feet and having self-doubt. Let's hope we find out in Season 5. That's it from our side. What was your favorite moment out of all the seasons? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Bye!